I never thought I'd see her family begging for a job at my company. That moment still sits in my mind like a scene from a movie. I remember staring at the screen, looking at the last name typed on the application form, Carter, and for a second, I honestly thought it had to be a joke. But life has a strange way of looping back. But before I tell you what happened that day, I should take you back to where all of this began. Back to a small town in the middle of the country, where dreams were often treated like punchlines. My name is Ethan Miller. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, nothing loud. My parents worked hard, and they taught me to do the same. I wasn't the cool kid, or the popular one. I was the kid who stayed late at the library, the kid who wrote ideas in old notebooks, the kid who believed that someday, somehow, I'd build a tech company that could change things. And then, there was Lena Carter. Lena was the kind of girl everyone noticed the second she walked into a room. Confident, stylish, born into a family that seemed to have everything. People treated her like she was made of gold. Me? I admired her from a distance at first. She was way out of my league, and I knew it, but life has funny timing. Somehow, we ended up talking one day after class. She smiled at my awkward jokes, and for the first time, I felt like maybe I wasn't just that quiet kid anymore. But the truth? Lena liked attention more than she ever liked me. She liked being admired. She liked feeling important. And I made her feel both. But she didn't take my dreams seriously. Not even once. I remember the day I finally told her what I really wanted to do with my life. We were sitting outside a diner, the sun just starting to set, and I said, "Lena, I want to build my own tech company someday. Something big. Something real." She didn't even pause. She laughed. A short, sharp laugh. "Ethan, that's adorable," she said, ruffling my hair like I was a kid talking about becoming a superhero. Then she added, "Be serious, okay? You're smart, but not that kind of smart." That one stung. Not enough to break me, but enough to sit deep in my chest. You see, Lena liked the version of me who stayed quiet and stayed in place. The moment I talked about big dreams, she treated me like a joke. Still, we dated a little, if you can even call it that. It was a one-sided thing, me giving, her taking. She'd cancel plans whenever someone cooler invited her out. She'd roll her eyes when I mentioned my ideas. She'd introduce me to her friends like some charity project she was helping. But the moment everything truly changed was at a party. Her friends were all there dressed nice, drinking, laughing. I don't even know why she asked me to come. Maybe she thought it would be funny. At one point, someone asked me what I wanted to do after college, and I said it. I said the one thing I believed in. I'm working on a tech idea. I want to start my own company someday. Silence. Then Lena burst out laughing. Not a shy laugh. Not a polite laugh. A loud, dramatic laugh that cut right through me. She said, "Guys, listen to this. Ethan thinks he's going to be some big tech founder. Isn't that cute?" Everyone laughed with her. That was the moment. The humiliation. The spark that changed everything. Later that night, she told me that she needed someone more realistic, someone with actual potential. And soon after, she left me for a guy who drove a shiny new car and talked like he owned the world. That breakup hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. It felt like someone took my future and slammed the door in my face. But here's the part Lena never understood. Some people fall apart when they're mocked. I'm not one of those people. Her laughter didn't destroy me, it fueled me. I packed my bags, left that small town, and started over. I worked long nights. I taught myself code. I failed more times than I can count. But I kept going, because every time I wanted to quit, I remembered that party. I remembered Lena's laugh. Years passed. And the boy she mocked? He built something real. My tech logistics company grew faster than I ever expected. Investors came, teams expanded, offices opened. And I stayed focused, never looking back, until that day. When her last name showed up on a job application, Carter, her family. And the moment I opened that file, I realized something I never expected. The people who once laughed at my dreams were now hoping I'd give them a chance. What happened next would change all of us. Still remember the morning everything changed. I was sitting in my office, overlooking the warehouse yard where trucks moved in neat lines like a living machine. My tech logistics company had grown far beyond anything I imagined in those early nights of coding and hoping. We handled nationwide shipping routes, automated systems, and partnered with major retailers. I had a strong team, a stable life, and a quiet confidence I had earned piece by piece. Life felt steady. Until one email broke that calm. At first, it looked routine, just another group of applications for our new distribution center. But when I scrolled, I froze. There it was again. Carter. Not one, not two, but 3 applications from the Carter family. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel excitement. I just felt surprised. A strange calm washed over me, as if the universe was whispering, "Your past isn't done with you yet." I clicked the first file, then the second, then the third. Lena's father, her mother, her younger cousin. Her name wasn't on the list, but seeing that last name was enough to bring back memories I thought I had pushed far behind me. Before making any decisions, I did what any responsible employer would do. I did my research. And what I found made me sit back in my chair, silent. Their family business, the one Lena used to brag about, had collapsed. A series of bad investments, rising costs, and the economy hitting harder than expected. Reports said they were under serious financial strain. They had sold their home, downsized everything. They weren't looking for pride anymore. They were looking for survival. And suddenly, the situation felt heavier. A part of me, the younger version, the hurt version, wanted to feel satisfaction, justice. That part whispered, "Now they know how it feels." But the man I had become, he saw something different. I saw people struggling. I saw a family trying to rebuild. And for the first time, I wondered what Lena's life looked like now. I scheduled the interviews myself. My assistant asked why the CEO wanted to handle entry-level hires, but I just told her I had my reasons. Interview day. The first to walk in was Lena's father, Mr. Carter, but he wasn't the strong, confident man I remembered. He looked older, like life had worn him down piece by piece. He held his hat in his hands, his voice steady but tired. "Thank you for seeing me, sir," he said. Sir. He used to talk to me like I was beneath him. Now he spoke with humility I'd never seen. As he talked about his experience, his willingness to take any job, his desire to provide for his family again, I felt something shift in me. Not pity, just understanding. Life humbles all of us eventually. Next came Lena's cousin, polite and nervous. Her mother came after, quieter than the rest. And then she walked in. Lena. She stepped through the door and froze. Her eyes widened as she looked at me sitting behind that desk with my name engraved on the plate. Ethan?" she whispered. For a second, the room felt too quiet. She looked almost like she couldn't breathe. It wasn't fear, it was shock. The kind of shock that pulls the past and present together in a way that leaves you speechless. "Yes," I said calmly. "Please have a seat." Her hands shook slightly as she sat. She tried to smile, tried to act composed, but her voice cracked. I didn't know this was your company." "I figured," I replied. She tried to explain. She talked about mistakes, pressure, being young. Words spilled out fast, like she needed to clear the air before it suffocated her. But I didn't let the moment turn emotional. "We're here for the interview," I said. "Let's focus on that." I could see the embarrassment rise in her eyes. She wasn't expecting kindness. She wasn't expecting composure. She certainly wasn't expecting the boy she once mocked to become a man who controlled the very room she walked into. I evaluated her the same way I evaluated everyone else's skills, experience, attitude. I didn't let old pain steer the wheel. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was seeking fairness, and after reviewing every file, I made my decision. I hired them, not to humiliate them, not to make them feel small, but to show them quietly, firmly, who I had become. When I told them the news, they were grateful. Even Lena, who could barely meet my eyes, but as the shift ended and everyone started heading out, Lena stopped at my door. "Ethan, can I talk to you? Just for a moment?" I turned toward her slowly, and that's when I realized this story wasn't finished. Not even close, I'll be honest. I didn't know what to expect from Lena after that first interview. Part of me wondered if she would avoid me completely. Another part wondered if she'd try to explain herself again. But what happened over the next few weeks was something I never saw coming. From the first day she started working at my company, Lena carried herself differently. Gone was the confident girl who once walked through halls like she owned the world. The woman standing at the front desk now was quieter, more careful with her words, more respectful. She took a humble role, entry-level customer support, answering calls, helping clients, handling paperwork, and she didn't complain. Not once. I watched from a distance, not because I wanted to intimidate her, but because I was trying to understand who she had become. And every day, her actions revealed a little more. She arrived early. She stayed late. She helped her coworkers without hesitation. But the biggest difference was the way she looked at me now. Not with mockery, but with something closer to respect. Or maybe regret. Working in the same building gave her a front row seat to something she never believed in before, my leadership. She saw how my employees trusted me, how I handled pressure with calmness, how people came to me for guidance, not out of fear, but because they genuinely valued my voice. There were moments I'd catch her watching me during meetings, like she was trying to piece together how the guy she once dismissed became this version of himself. There were times I'd have flashbacks, little moments from the past that still had sharp edges. The laughter, the jokes, the dismissive looks. Those memories didn't disappear just because we were adults now. But when they surfaced, I reminded myself of something important. Those moments shaped me. But they didn't define me. Her father, though, that man surprised me the most. He worked with a kind of determination you usually see in someone rebuilding their entire life from scratch. He thanked me often, sometimes too often. He'd say things like, "You gave us a chance when nobody else would, and I won't forget this." And I could see in his tired eyes that he meant every word. Their family was going through something heavy. The kind of struggle most people hide, but it shows in the way they walk, the way they sigh, the way they cling to small victories. Watching them made me realize that life had humbled them long before they stepped into my building. One evening, I stayed late, trying to finish up reports. Most employees had already left, but I noticed a light still on near the front of the office. When I walked over, I saw Lena sitting alone at her desk, staring at a half-written email with tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't hear me at first. When she finally looked up, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, Ethan. I'm sorry," she said, quickly wiping her eyes. "I didn't mean for anyone to see me like this." I didn't step closer. I just stood there, giving her space. "What's wrong?" I asked gently. She took a shaky breath, then another. It was like she'd been holding back years of emotion, and the dam finally cracked. "I've been carrying this for so long," she whispered. "I was so immature back then. So worried about what other people thought. I thought dating someone successful mattered more than being with someone good." Her voice broke again as she continued. "You were kind to me. You were genuine. And I threw that away because I was insecure. I didn't think you'd actually build something. I didn't think you'd become the man you are now." Her honesty caught me off guard. Not because she apologized, but because she finally seemed real. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't know how to respond. The past still hurt, but seeing her struggling like this didn't bring me joy. It made me reflect. It made me realize how far I'd come. "Eventually," I said quietly, "we can't change the past, but we can rise above it." She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes again. "I know," she whispered. "And I want to tell you something else. Something I never told you. Something that might change how you see everything." I felt a tension rise in my chest. She looked terrified, as if the next words might break her. "What is it?" I asked. She took a deep breath. "That night at the party, there was more going on than you ever knew." And in that moment, I realized our story was only just beginning. I knew something was wrong the moment Lena stepped into my office. She didn't knock with her usual gentle tap. This time, she stood there quietly, almost frozen, her hands held together like she was trying to keep them from shaking. Her eyes avoided mine at first, and when she finally looked up, I saw something I had never seen in her before. Fear, regret, and a truth she'd been carrying for far too long. "Ethan, do you have a moment?" she asked, her voice soft but strained. I nodded and motioned for her to sit. She didn't. Instead, she stood near the chair, as if she wasn't sure she deserved to sit in front of me. That uneasiness alone told me whatever she was about to say wasn't small. "Earlier, when I said there was more to the story," she began, "I meant it. I can't keep pretending things were simple. They weren't, not back then. And not now." I leaned back, trying to stay calm, trying to keep old wounds from reopening. "Oh, go on," I said quietly. She took a long breath. "My family's downfall. It didn't start last year. It didn't even start 2 years ago. It began way before any of that. Long before you ever built this company." Her words surprised me. I thought their collapse came suddenly, a bad market, bad choices. But the way she spoke made it clear that the cracks had been there, much earlier. "Our business was already struggling back when we were in college," she continued. "My parents hid it from everyone. They pretended everything was perfect. They acted like success was our identity. And if it slipped, we'd slip with it." She paused, swallowing hard. "I grew up believing that the worst thing a person could be was average." There it was. The truth behind her old behavior. She wiped her palms slowly on her jeans, trying to steady herself. "I envied you, Ethan," she admitted. "I envied the way you talked about your dreams like they actually mattered. I envied how you believed in yourself with no safety net. I didn't have that. I still don't, not really." Hearing that felt strange. Not satisfying. Not painful, just revealing. She continued, voice trembling. "When I mocked your ideas, it wasn't because I thought you were foolish. It was because I was scared. Scared that I didn't have what you had, passion, purpose, drive. I followed the crowd because it made me feel protected." She shook her head slowly. "And dating you, it made me feel like I had to choose between who I was supposed to be and who I actually wanted to be. I wasn't strong enough to choose the right thing." A tear slipped down her cheek, but she didn't wipe it away this time. "I lost a good person because I wanted people to think I was better than I was. And I've carried that regret every day since." Then she looked at me, not with expectation, but with honesty. "I never thought I'd see you again," she whispered. "And I definitely never imagined I'd walk into a building and find out you were the CEO, that you built the kind of success people said you'd never reach." Her words stirred something inside me, not anger, not pride, but a strange ache. A part of me still remembered the pain she caused. But another part, the wiser part, understood that people don't stay who they were at 18. She finally sat down. hands trembling on her lap. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she said quietly. "Truly, for the jokes, for the humiliation, for not seeing who you were, and who you could become." Her apology wasn't dramatic. It wasn't polished. It wasn't meant to erase the past. It was simply real. I took a slow breath before responding. "Lena," I said, "we can't change what happened. We can't erase the past. But we can rise above it." She nodded, tears falling freely now, not loudly, just silently, like she had finally allowed herself to let go. This wasn't a love story. This wasn't a reunion. It was a reckoning. Two people finally seeing each other clearly after years of pretending. Some things, I added quietly, are better left as lessons. She wiped her face again and whispered, "Thank you for not shutting the door on us." Before I could say anything else, my intercom buzzed sharply. "Ethan," my assistant said, "we need you in the main office. Now it's urgent. Something big is happening." I stood up fast, tension rising instantly. Lena stepped back, startled. "What's going on?" she asked. I didn't know. But the tone in my assistant's voice told me this wasn't something small. "I'll be back," I told Lena, already heading toward the door. As I pulled it open, a single thought hit me. Whatever was happening was about to change everything. The moment I stepped into the main office, I could feel it. That pressure in the air. That tension that tells you something is very, very wrong. My operations manager rushed toward me, pale and frantic. "Ethan, the system's down. The whole routing software crashed. Trucks are stalled, orders aren't updating, and customer calls are blowing up." It felt like the room tilted for a second. Our entire business depended on that system. Without it, everything froze. I didn't panic. I couldn't. Everyone was looking at me, waiting, hoping, scared. "All right," I said calmly. "Let's take this step by step. Start manual routing. Move all team leads to stations. I'll handle customer escalations until we get the system back up." People scattered into motion, but the stress was thick. Calls were flooding in. Drivers were waiting. Clients were frustrated. This was the moment that tested who we really were. And then, something unexpected happened. Lena's father stepped up. I saw him moving quickly through the chaos. Not frozen, not confused, focused. He started organizing the team. He grabbed whiteboards, wrote down truck numbers, routes, and backup plans. He directed people clearly, using skills I didn't know he had. Turns out the man had run operations for decades in his old company. And while his business had collapsed, his experience hadn't. "Ethan," he called out, "we can still salvage most routes if we coordinate manually. I'll take the shipping floor. You handle command." I nodded, impressed. The tired man I interviewed weeks earlier was gone. This was someone strong, capable, resourceful, and Lena. She surprised me too. I noticed her at the customer support station. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't emotional. She was steady. "Hi ma'am, I understand your frustration, and we're already working on a solution," she said calmly to a caller. "I promise we'll keep you updated every step of the way." Her voice was gentle, patient, nothing like the girl who once mocked others to feel powerful. She guided upset clients with kindness, taking responsibility even when it wasn't hers. She offered solutions, comfort, reassurance. I watched for a moment, silently stunned. She wasn't pretending. She genuinely cared. And for the first time, I saw the woman she could have been back then. The one hidden behind years of pressure and insecurity. But not everyone handled the crisis with grace. Halfway through the chaos, a loud voice broke through the noise. "This is Lena's fault." An employee slammed a file onto a desk. "She's the newest one here. She probably touched the wrong settings." Heads turned. People gasped. Even Lena froze, hurt flashing across her face. The old me, the one hurt by her past, might have stayed silent. But I wasn't that person anymore. No, I said firmly, stepping forward. Everyone went quiet. She had nothing to do with the system crash, I continued. Blaming someone without evidence isn't how we work here. My voice echoed through the room. People stared in shock. Even Lena looked at me like she wasn't sure what she just heard. I wasn't defending her because of the past. I was defending her because it was the right thing to do. Focus on solutions, I added. Not finding someone to blame. The employee stepped back, embarrassed. The room steadied. The work continued. And that moment changed everything. Together we saved the day. Hour by hour, the system slowly recovered. Trucks rolled back onto schedule. Clients calmed down. Employees took a breath of relief. By evening, the building felt like it could finally exhale. As I walked through the floor, checking on teams, Lena's father approached me quietly. He placed a hand on my shoulder. His voice filled with emotion. "Ethan," he said, "you're the kind of leader I wish I'd hired years ago. You're the kind of man I always hoped my daughter would meet one day." I didn't know what to say. His sincerity hit harder than I expected. He nodded softly. "Thank you for everything." I watched him walk away, and a strange feeling settled into my chest, something between closure and confusion. People change. Life humbles everyone. Nothing stays as simple as the past, makes it seem. As the last employees headed out, I stood alone in the quiet warehouse, thinking about everything that had happened, the collapse, the rebuild, the truth, the crisis. And then the real question hit me. Was it time to finally let the past fade? Or was I about to reopen wounds that never fully healed? The answer, I still didn't know, but I was about to find out. I didn't sleep much after the system failure. Not because of stress, but because of everything it revealed. Lena's father stepping up. Lena calming angry clients. Their humility. Their effort. Their sincerity. I lay awake thinking about the past I had carried for so long. The wounds I kept hidden under layers of success. For years, I told myself that revenge would come the moment I watched her regret everything she ever said to me. I thought that seeing her struggle would finally make things right. But standing there in the middle of that crisis, watching her and her father fight for the company like it was their own, something inside me shifted. Maybe real revenge wasn't about breaking someone down. Maybe it was about rising so far above the past that their words lost all power. The next morning, I sat in my office long before anyone else arrived. I stared out the window while trucks rolled into the yard, the sound of diesel engines humming like a reminder of how far I'd come. What does revenge mean now? I whispered to myself that the boy who cried in a parking lot after being mocked would have wanted payback. The man I had become wanted meaning. And that's when I made my decision. It was time to close the chapter the right way. I called Lena and her father into my office. They came in quietly, unsure what to expect. Lena kept her eyes low. Her father looked nervous, like he feared the worst. "Please sit," I said. They did. For a moment, no one spoke. I wanted to choose my words carefully, not out of hesitation, but out of respect for the moment. "Yesterday showed me something important," I began. "It showed me who you are now, not who you were." Lena's father straightened a little, surprised. "You both stepped up," I continued. "You helped this company get through a crisis that could have shut us down." And I saw genuine effort, genuine loyalty. Lena's eyes softened, and she finally lifted her gaze toward me. "I'm not calling you here to fire you," I said. "I'm calling you here because you deserve stability. Both of you." They exchanged a quick look, relief mixed with confusion. "You will have stable employment here for as long as you choose to stay," I told them. "Not because of pity, not because of the past, but because you earned it." Her father let out a shaky breath he'd probably been holding for years. "And more than that," I added, I'm offering growth opportunities, training, leadership tracks, real paths forward. Lena's eyes filled instantly. Not heavy tears, just the kind that show a heart quietly breaking open. She whispered, "Ethan, why? After everything?" I looked at her for a long moment. "You mocked my dreams," I said softly. "But those dreams built the roof that now protects your family." Her lips trembled. Her breath caught. She didn't speak, she couldn't, because this wasn't the revenge she expected. She thought I'd laugh. She thought I'd send them away. She thought I'd make them feel small the way she once made me feel. But instead, I chose something she never saw coming. Grace, strength, character. The exact things she once said I didn't have. Her father stood slowly, walked toward me, and extended his hand. "Ethan, thank you, truly. You don't know what this means to us." I shook his hand firmly. Lena wiped her cheeks carefully and managed to whisper, "I don't deserve this. But thank you for being better than I ever was." I didn't respond with emotion or anger. I simply nodded. Because this wasn't about winning anymore. It was about letting go. As I walked out of the office afterward, something lifted. Not physically, but inside me. For years, I carried the weight of old insults, old wounds, old versions of myself. But in that moment, they weren't chains anymore. They were lessons. I stepped onto the warehouse floor, watching the morning shift begin, the hum of work filling the air. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't about proving her wrong. It was about proving myself right. And as that truth settled into my chest, I realized the past didn't own me anymore. I did. If someone had told me years ago that Lena's family would rebuild their lives under the roof I created, I would have laughed. Not out of arrogance, but because life rarely ties its loose ends so neatly. But sometimes, life surprises you in the quietest, most unexpected ways. Months passed after that final conversation. And slowly, steadily, the Carter family began to rise again, not with wealth, not with show, but with genuine stability. The kind that comes from honest work and gratitude. Lena's father earned a leadership role in warehouse operations. His decades of experience became one of our biggest strengths. The team respected him deeply, something I could see in the way they sought his advice, the way they trusted his judgment. Her mother found a place in our accounting department. Her calm and careful attention to detail, helping us avoid mistakes we used to overlook. And Lena, she grew more than anyone. She became one of the most reliable members of the customer relations team. She handled pressure with patience and guided frustrated clients with empathy instead of pride. There were days I'd see her smiling genuinely, helping someone without expecting praise. She wasn't the girl I once knew. She wasn't pretending. She had changed for real. And the way her family treated me now? It was sincere, not forced. Not because of guilt, but because they understood something important. Respect isn't owed. It's earned. And what about me? People often think success changes you. But in my case, I worked hard to make sure it didn't. I still drove the same simple car I bought years ago when my business first took off. I still walked the floor every morning, greeting employees by name. I still ate lunch in the break room sometimes. Listening to people talk about their day. Money didn't make me forget where I came from. If anything, it reminded me that a quiet beginning can still lead to a powerful ending. And seeing the Carter family rebuild not under someone else, but under the very person they once overlooked felt like life's way of showing how full circle stories can become. One afternoon, Lena approached me outside the building. The sun was setting behind the warehouse, casting long shadows across the lot. She looked calm, peaceful in a way I had never seen before. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said. "Not just for the job, but for giving us the chance to start again." I nodded. "You earned it. She smiled softly, the kind of smile that held both gratitude and closure. You know, she continued quietly, I used to think success was about looking important, being surrounded by the right people, living the right image. And now? I asked. Now I think it's about becoming someone you're proud of when you look in the mirror. She walked away after that, leaving me with a thoughtful silence. For a long time, I believed my story with Lena would always be tied to pain. But now, it was tied to growth, hers, and mine. As I drove home that evening, a realization settled over me. Success isn't loud. It's not about proving someone wrong. It's not about making the people who doubted you feel small. Success is quiet, steady, rooted in the belief that your dreams have worth even when someone else laughs. I remembered all those nights when I worked alone, shaping something nobody believed in, not even her. And yet, here I was living the proof that belief runs deeper than approval. People will doubt you. People will mock what they don't understand. People will walk away when you need support the most. But none of that defines your ending. Only your choices do. My final reflection. Success doesn't come from proving others wrong. It comes from proving yourself right. The best revenge is a life lived with integrity. A life built on effort, growth, and character, not spite. And as I pulled into my driveway, watching the evening sky fade from orange to purple, I whispered the words I wish someone had told me years ago. Dreams don't need approval. They just need belief and the courage to rise above anyone who laughs at them. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that every dream matters, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little push today. And remember, every life has a turning point. Yours might be just one brave choice away. Thanks for watching. And until next time, keep believing, keep growing, and never let anyone shrink your dreams.